So really the starting point for me was, where is this revenue and how do we capitalize on our opportunity to increase that revenue, right? We already talked about what electronic payments can do from an increasing your average ticket at the customer standpoint. So what's that mean? You would increase deposits because now we're taking more. Separate conversation, but just as important from this particular product. The thing that we probably don't realize, because we never really pay attention to what we're using from a payment standpoint, but almost 70% of the transactions in the marketplace today are electronic. Credit card, debit card, gift card. Whether it's the ones that we can issue, Visa, MasterCard back, whether it's big box store gift card, it's electronic payments. More so now than ever, given the last couple years, the ability to pay online, the ability to not have to go in to see somebody. We didn't want to see people, but we needed groceries, we needed whatever, we needed prescriptions, things like that. So the idea of using our credit and debit card is paramount. And as consumers, we're telling merchants how we want to pay to the tune of 70%. So from a merchant standpoint, back to that quote of 80% of those customers want to receive it from their bank, but only 40% of them do. What do you think the average of the people in this room is? So think about that. We'll come back to it later. We already kind of talked about, how do we start? What do we look at? We've got great partners in the room, but as we look across the table and around the room, everybody's different, right? I have staffing issues. It's all I could do to come here today and not be in the branch for 4 hours yesterday, 6 hours yesterday, and some time today. I have 6, 7 different hats that I'm wearing. We don't have the staff to do this. And we get it. We also understand that merchant services, vendor product, not something that is traditionally part of our core goal, something that inherently earns a lot of revenue on a per merchant basis, because it generally doesn't. We understand all that. We have the ability, and I think we've all had conversations, whether it's myself with you or with Holly, from a development standpoint, of tailoring and catering our program to meet your needs. But the question is, what are your needs? So I think the first question we have to ask is, what are we looking to achieve out of our program? Let's set those expectations. It's one thing to say, okay, pie in the sky, I want to earn $50,000 a month in merchant services. Okay, that's great. Let's figure out how to do that and see if it's realistic. Honestly, I don't know anybody in the room combined would have the ability to earn $50,000 a month in revenue. Not the world we live in, but we can go to $1,000 a month in revenue if that's what we think our goal is. $5,000 a month, that's what we think our goal is. And it's, if you remember any of the presentations I've given before to staff, when we talk about what we're trying to do, I try to get it to a point where it is easy to understand. So at the end of the day, the way we're earning revenue is based on approved accounts and installed accounts. The reason we have installed and approved accounts is because of referrals. The more referrals we have, the better the opportunity. Makes sense, right? We're not going to get to that point unless we have a comfort level and we have an understanding of what the responsibility is at my level in the bank, whatever my level happens to be. Am I the teller? Am I the new accounts person? Am I both? Am I the branch manager? Am I all three? Am I the lender? What's my role in this process? Are we utilizing, or let's start utilizing the tools that FiNet has? We have a dashboard. Everybody I know has seen a dashboard because we've all sent referrals in and they've all come in through that portal. We have self-help tools. Kevin asked Jeff specifically about 5 points, 5 questions to ask. And while they weren't that pinpointed, there are some informational pieces on there that Mike and Alyssa have put together to help ask the question, to help answer questions that may be asked from our customers as they come in. Because, Ron, I can ask the question, but what if somebody responds and gives me a question back and I don't know the answer? Very early on before Laura stole me from a retail store to come work with her. I learned it's okay to say, I don't know, but I will get you the answer. Or I'm not sure right now. It's better to say that, provided you follow up and get the answer, than to give an answer that's going to be wrong. Especially in this environment for us, for Debbie, for the sales team, for anybody really at FiNet, because we're an extension of you and your customers. I said it before, I'm going to say it again, that the two main points, and not so much for the folks in the room, because you all understand it because you're here, is the bank has a program to accept electronic payments, and we just need that help identifying customers. I need your help identifying one customer a month. That's it, one. It's a starting point. Everybody understands one. Nobody's afraid of one. We can do one. But as we identify one, and we look at the 6, 7, 8 different spots that we can pull merchant referrals from over the course of 20, 22 business days, it should be very easy to do. Matter of fact, the challenge for everybody here is no different than the challenge we've had in normal conversations. And it works for everybody, whether we are 19 branches or we're 3 branches. The goal is one referral a branch a month. That's how we get on that process. And it's, again, easy for everybody to understand. But that being said, we go back to that one a branch a month. And again, starting point, right? It just depends on where we want to get to. I've had banks that come to me and said, I want a certain dollar amount. I've had banks that come to me and said, I want X number of approvals a month. But by the time you look at that and you break down, okay, now you start thinking in your head, well, we have X number of accounts. And I know what our residual statement looks like from FiNet. And there's more than 100. It gets the idea in your head of there's actual real money to be made here. So what do we do? How do we capitalize on that, right? And whatever goal we set, okay, let's get to it, and here's how we do it. And the reason we're all here today is to understand how we can take that revenue that's out there and make it our revenue, or how we can increase upon the revenue that we're currently earning and get to whatever number we want to get to. So we get it here. Where we need help is making sure that everybody else in the branch, everybody else in the bank understands that this is an important product, not just for increasing revenue, but for increasing deposits. So when we're having the conversation, hey, just came back from the FiNet seminar, and here's what we learned, and here's what we want to talk about. We're going to make an effort for the rest of 23 to push merchant services. This is what the bank sent us. They sent us to this seminar to learn about merchant services and how to increase revenue. Here's what we're going to try and do. And I need your help from the people in this room to push that down above and below, right? So we want to get buy-in from everybody that's signed the agreement so they can then push down and say, okay, this isn't just Ron or Holly or Debbie or somebody from sales coming in talking about merchant services because it's important, because I like my job and I want to keep my job because I need referrals to come in. It's about, this is what we're doing as a bank and this is how we're going to do it. So when I'm having that conversation, as we talk about training and education, how many trainings do we want to do over the course of a year? Quarterly? Semi-annually? What do we want to do? Do we want to be in person? Do we want to be able to have real-time interaction? Do we want to be able to have us be part of your monthly manager's call, where we have 5 or 7 minutes just to say, hey, here's a monthly recap. We had 3 referrals last month, 2 of those closed. Hey, we're thinking about a promotion, jumping ahead a little bit, but the promotion we ran, the sales incentive, we generated this, so I'm sending those gift cards out at the end of the month. Here are the merchants that were approved, and here are the folks that sent those referrals in. So, hopefully this generates a lot of thoughts. Ron, we're having a branch manager's meeting. Can't have you come in with enough time, but let's have a call. Can you come in 15 minutes? Give us 15 minutes, high level, why it's important, what we're going to do. We can take, based on what we talked about at the seminar, and push it out from there. The next typical point is, all right, Ron, where do we go? Everybody's accepting electronic payments at this point. Where did we have lunch today? Where did we go to dinner over the weekend? Did we go to the movies? Did we go to Air Extreme? They all take credit cards. But as I'm talking to that level of group, and I'm just uncomfortable, I don't know it, right? Start with your friends and family. Start with the Jeffs, the micro merchants that are starting a side business. Hey, you're selling whatever. Do you need to take credit cards? Have you thought about taking credit cards? If you're just taking cash at the Oktoberfest or at the county fair, maybe open up the credit cards. You could see this increase in your sales based on that. Easy conversation, right? They're our friends, it's our family. If we fumble through it, if we're uncomfortable about it, if we don't know the answer, it's okay because we're used to having conversations with them. Existing business customers. The next logical progression, because they're our customers already. So we can have that conversation. It's easy to talk to them. We see them in the branch, we talk to them on a repeated basis. Easy to have. 80% want to use you guys. 40% are national average. What do we think of the average in the room the capture rate is? Anybody? So on average, our portfolio in general, we're either high single digits, 8, 9%, or right about 19 or 20%. So even if we're at the high end, we're leaving 80% of the opportunities on the table. And 80% of the opportunities in a couple different scenarios. We talked about using it as a foot in the door to go after new business. What we're doing is what we don't want to have happen to us. If 80% of our business accounts are receiving ACHs in from another payment provider, that means there's a door or a window open for that entity to do what we're doing, right? Going out and asking for business. Hey, we've been doing your processing for 8 months, 9 months now. What if we take a look at the rest of your business accounts? So now all of a sudden, merchant services, a side point from the increasing revenue, allows us to play defense. One of two things is going to happen. We're going to have a conversation with that customer, and it's going to lead to an analysis, a comparison, a conversation. Maybe within that conversation, we uncover some stuff in their statement that they're processing incorrectly because the other company didn't care or think to set them up properly. So we're saving them money in that regard. We can then cross-sell or have the opportunity to look at the way they process. You all know how we talk to your customers. It's not just here's our rate, here's our customer service number, sign on the line. It's what's best for your customer, or what's best for you, Mr. Business Customer. Tell me about your business. And anybody in sales, when you ask somebody to talk about their business, probably go longer than Jeff did because they're excited. It's their business. I'd love to talk about I got 13 shades of this particular thing and 87 sizes, and okay. And they're excited about it. So when we ask those types of questions, we understand what they need. And now more than ever, what are your pain points? What is holding you back from getting to where you want to be revenue-wise? Maybe I'm the owner and now I'm the manager because I can't find anybody that wants to work. Or maybe I am stuck behind the counter doing this or this or this. So it may not always be about the savings for them. Maybe it's about implementing a solution that simplifies their life, that makes their business process easier. And that's where we go. So that's the best case scenario, right? We have the conversation with the business customer and we win that account. So now that revenue is coming to us, right? We've increased revenue in that regard. We looked at it and also accomplished the second half of our goal. We've locked that customer up a little bit more. Adding another piece to the operating account, to the line, to a loan, to whatever other TM or other business accounts they have at the bank. It's one more piece that makes it that much harder for somebody to come in and say, I can give you half a point here, or 1% there, or whatever. No, thanks. I'm good where I'm at because I have all this, this, and this. Worst case scenario, you know what, Ron, I'm processing with my brother-in-law. Have been for years. Okay, not going to win that account. Just not going to do it. In a contract for 10 years with some goofy termination fee. Okay, not going to win that one. Even in those instances, we are showing our customers by reaching out to them that, hey, I had a seminar, I have a product that they think may help my business. So instead of going to the internet or going to the postcard that was left on my desk, I can actually call my bank, say, hey, look, here's what I'm looking to do. Didn't work out the last time with that merchant thing, but I need this, or, can you help me with this, or whatever. Or they remember us coming to them for merchant and say, you know what, I had this problem. We had a couple chargebacks. I'm not happy with the way it was handled. How do you guys do it? Can we talk to somebody? So there's always an opportunity to revisit that. One of the ways that we can help with an existing DDA outreach is we treat it like a conversion account. So let's say we acquire a bank and they had merchants we're bringing on to our portfolio. So we would look internally at those particular merchants, right? The 80% that we're not capturing right now and say, okay, let's put some rhyme or reason to it. Whether it's the top 10% or it's this group of merchants because we feel like we have success in approving those accounts. Let's look at it and say, okay, we're going to identify 50% of the merchants that we want to reach out to in a given time frame. We then work together and say, okay, we're not going to do this all at once because, even if it's 50 merchants, and by the time we get from 1 to 50, we never followed up on one again and it's out of sight, out of mind. And that's not what we're trying to do. We want to make this is a bank-driven scenario. We have sample letters. We have sample outreaches that we've done before that we can show you. Our portion of that is let us do the heavy lifting. Let's work together. Let's solidify what that message is going to be. And then let's have your letterhead, your electronic signature, your envelopes. We'll do the mailing for you. We'll push it out. So you, who are already taxed and wearing 17 hats and maybe just getting into merchant services, don't have to worry about that. But at the same time, we know it's coming from Blair. So when Emily calls back out and says, hey, I'm just following up on this letter that came out in the second week of March. And again, are we going to sign every one of these? No. But the goal is let's sign as many as we can because they're there. So that's my promise to you, is that we will assist in any way we can. So as we assess our program and what we're looking to do, that is very much at the forefront of how we can see an immediate impact in that revenue. So let's go back to that 80%, all right? And we look at what we have. And again, it's all relative to everybody in the room, whether it's 80% of 250 deposit accounts, 100 deposit accounts, or 2,500. It's all relative, right? But the thought process here is if we look at, let's just say 100 business accounts that aren't using FiNet, that are using somebody else. We already know all the pitfalls that may befall us if somebody else comes in and asks the question. Let's just use kind of a little bit lower end average, but it makes the math easy. If our average dollar per merchant, meaning the average you earn on a merchant in your portfolio, is $15, and we have 100 business accounts that we aren't asking that question about or aren't using this program, it's $1,500 a month, right? $18,000 a year. That, if we're short-staffed or if we're looking to add an FTE, all right, maybe $18,000 isn't going to do it, but it's a good start, or we can supplement with that. I remember a couple of years ago, I did a pro forma for a bank and didn't realize that they had already done their budget for the previous year, but basically went to them and based on their size, showed them that if they actually hired somebody at their standard branch manager salary and dedicated them to a TM with a focus on merchant services, they would have paid for that salary in 2.5 years. The ability for Ron to be working at the bank who knows merchant services to go out and visit with the branches weekly. Hey, you opened 4 new accounts this week. None of those generated, none of them are processing. Okay, well, let's revisit that now. Now we're into, okay, let's use it as a foot in the door. I've had a couple conversations with my friends and family. I've talked to a couple existing customers. Let's go out and get business now. Maybe I'm going to drop off new account information to the tanning salon in a plaza. and I see the new taqueria or the new pulp or the whatever getting ready to open, and I stop in and say, hey, I'm just dropping off We Bank Joe's Tanning Salon. Just wanted to drop off some information on the bank and our payment processing. Use it as a foot in the door. Have you thought about accepting payments for the new business, right? And use it to get in the door, get that operating account, and take it from there. Ideally, every account that's open that's a business account should generate a referral. Is that going to happen? No. If it happened, there'd be a lot more people at FiNet because we wouldn't be able to handle all of our partners and all of the referrals that were coming in. And then we get more specific. And it really hasn't changed much over the last couple years. But there are a group of 10 merchants, this is all on your dashboard, that we typically see open more accounts over the course of a year and process more volume. Restaurants, doctor's offices. We talk about churches and parishes enough that I think we understand that. But those are the places we want to look at and say, okay, if I'm going out and I'm looking for business, I'm going to try there. Yeah, everybody's going to have that merchant that the revenue is 39 cents, just because those merchants are in there. But at the same time, there's also the opportunity for merchants that are going to earn you hundreds of dollars a month. The home run accounts, from a revenue standpoint, as I like to call them, come from our commercial lenders. It's possible that somebody's going to walk in the door and say, I need to open a checking account because I'm opening a Chick-fil-A and I want to deposit here. Okay, that could happen. Generally, those are going to come in from a lender. And I get the trepidation, I get the concern. I don't want somebody else talking to my customer, jeopardize the loan. But at the same time, the thought process there should be, do we really just want the loan? We want the entire relationship. And in that relationship is the merchant service piece. Now, we can work with the lender. We can work with the bank. Here's how we'd like it to go. Ron, we need something really simple that's going to be apples to apples from where they were at to what they can do with you and what the savings is going to be. I need 4 numbers, 3 numbers, whatever it is. We could put 3 numbers on a piece of paper. Here's what it would be. Back it up with the 2 or 3 page analysis, depending on how many they process. Here's your 87 lines of card types that you took. And here's everything in the weeds that nobody really wants to get into in a meeting. We can provide that and talk about that if they need to know where the savings came from. And then we talk about solutions. So from a technical aspect, we can come in on the back end. We can utilize this as another tool. You can come to us and say, hey, we want to use merchant services to help close this loan. So we're not necessarily worried about revenue per se on this account. We want a sharp pencil. We want as close to the bone as possible because we're trying to win the whole deal. We want to be able to show a package from the bank that this is what we're going to be able to do. Great. On the other hand, the home run deals that I'm talking about, and we all know the culprits, the big banks. I'm number 2734A, and my merchant rates are 4 times what they should be for whatever reason, because there's increase after increase after increase. Nobody cares. Nobody follows up. Merchant just gets fed up. So they come to us and they say, you know what? I need a $500,000 loan. I need to put a new parking lot in my dealership. Okay. Hey, as a part of this, we always like to ask about value-added services. Who does your payment processing? Oh, I'm with whatever. Yeah, go ahead and take a look. And honestly, if you guys are close, I'm good because you're giving me the $500,000 that I need. And in those opportunities, I can think of 10 off the top of my head that because of the way those merchants were priced, we have cut their rate in half, priced them 3 times higher than we normally price. But this is the opportunity to make up for, and again, not gouging and not in that sense we're taking advantage, but it was the opportunity to make up for the 39-cent merchants. So by saving them 60 basis points on their $125,000 or $200,000 a month that they were doing, the bank earned $1,000 a month. And when you look at that, $1,000 a month is going to get somebody's attention on a residual report from one merchant. And then we have the conversation, say, okay, well, how do we get more of those? What do we do with more of those? But it really comes down to one basic thing. One of the last things that I did as part of our first 12 or 14 slide PowerPoint presentation from a training standpoint called FiNet University Merchant Services 101, was a recap of what PNC did a couple years ago. They divided their bank up into teams, did the old everybody stand in line, count off, and okay, here's your team. Each team was given an ancillary product, and they were just told to ask the question. Just ask. Within 6 months, they saw a 20% increase in ancillary product sales across the board. Another 6 months, it went up another 35%, simply because they were asking. So they were told to ask the question, and as the comfort level grew asking the question, they asked it more and more times. So last April, May, we're sitting around the office trying to figure out, okay, what's the next thing we can do from a catchy deal here? And we were talking about that, and just ask came up. 2 words, dual facing. So what we have for you here is Mike and Alyssa put this together. It looks fantastic. It's a double-sided piece, right? And the idea behind it is this is something that we want to place in the branches, whether it be in physical form like this, whether it be in digital form like it is behind me on our message boards, and it's designed to ask that question. From a customer standpoint, facing there in the teller line, what am I asking about? And then after we had the conversation in the training with the teller or the branch manager or the new accounts officer, this is what we're asking about. How do you process cards? How do your deposits come in? Never thought about it. We have a program here at the bank. Can we continue this conversation? The back of it, just a couple quick pieces of information for us as employees, as bank employees. Okay, well, I know we need to ask a question. What am I supposed to ask? Just that. If the customer doesn't see it and ask the question, it's my reminder as the new accounts officer, as the branch manager, to ask about payment processing. Again, we're trying to get that one referral, trying to get as many referrals as possible so we can close them, get them installed, and start that revenue coming in. The QR code, I'm standing in line waiting for the person in front of me to make the deposit. I click on it. Information on sending that referral. So it's little bits of things that we can do to help that process along. We've talked about this with some of you already, and we understand, there are some, we're doing this right now, we need to do it else. You know what? We're kind of jammed up right now at the teller stations, but we like the digital idea. We've got boards here, we've got this, we can run this. This is something. So the idea behind it is to, again, just promote the idea of asking that question. Not put the onus 100% on the employee as we're just building that comfort level. Let's talk about a promotion, right? Currently, we're running a promotion with some banks right now, even in the room. On the dashboard, under the marketing section, I believe the specific tag is promos. We can look at it, wide range of promos in there, whether it's employee-driven, where we're going to incent the employee who sends the referral. Once that account gets approved, we give them a gift card. For everybody that sends in a qualified referral, you're entered into a drawing. We've done larger gift cards, we've done tablets, we've done smartwatches, we've done TVs. Grogan Colonial wanted to do a fire pit and chairs because their local chamber had a fundraiser and the bank loved it. So they're like, hey, can we do this? I'm like, well, fits in the budget. Let's do a table and chairs, a fire pit and chairs. You guys know what excites your employees. So if it's something outside the box, call us and say, hey, look, here's what we're thinking about doing. We want to do this. What do you think? Okay. At the end of the promotion, we'll have a big affair. We'll drive, hey, look, here we go with 4 referrals for the 2 months. We drew the name out of the hat. Congratulations. Here's your fire pit and chairs kind of thing. We have merchant-driven incentives, whether standalone or in conjunction with business blitzes that you might be doing. For every piece or every product that you sign up for at the bank, you fall into a category. 1 to 2, you get $50. 2 to 3, you get this. 3 to 4, and we participate in that with you. Monetary donation, gift card, back to the customer. Meet or beat. While we don't generally like to run it as a full-blown promotion, we can't meet or beat your current rates, we'll give you a gift card. Alyssa and I are toying with the idea of modifying that because one of the downfalls that we saw of the meter beat was I was just interested in that gift card. So I'll go through the process and I'll talk to you about it. You beat my rates, but $35 a month wasn't enough. Okay, thanks for your time. So now we're going to do two different things. If we can't meet or beat, we're going to give you a gift card, but we're also going to give you a gift card if you sign up. So we value your business. We understand that we're going to be able to do this for you, but we also will incent you to sign up. And just because they're on there doesn't mean that's all we have. So if there's something that you guys can think of that's outside the box, most people like competition. Hey, let's have something between branches. We're going to run a 2-month scenario that the most qualified referrals or approvals that come out of a branch, or maybe it's 6 months, whatever it is going to win lunch from FiNet. Things like that. So ways we can excite everybody about it. We put a lot of time and effort into trying to stay ahead of the market. Beth, how long ago were you put into your role as product manager? 10 years ago. So from that time on, we have had a dedicated person, and now we're up to more people in the department that are looking for ways to process, looking for what the next solution is, being able to offer these solutions to your customers. Because again, at the end of the day, if we don't have the solutions for your customers, the referrals don't matter because we're not going to get them approved because we don't have what they want. Payment processing is one of those odd scenarios where the bank truly has an opportunity to offer their customer a state-of-the-art solution that can also save them time and money, right? And it's not just about accepting credit cards anymore. It really has evolved into a small business solution. I know for a long time we were confused as FiNet Solutions, because back in the day when we were getting our domain and our emails, we had to have solutions in it because everything else was taken. But it was ironic that here we are all these years later, and we're not just offering credit card processing anymore. We're offering these solutions. And it's interesting because our customers are realizing that what they once thought was reserved for big box stores, they now have access to. It used to be that if I wanted a POS system, or if I wanted something that Chili's had, I had to pay $6,000, $8,000. That's not the case anymore. These solutions are here for those customers, and we have them for you. So again, the process behind it is fairly simple. We know we need to ask the question. We try to provide as many tools as we can to ask that question. By asking the question, we're going to see the pieces that we need to ultimately get where we want to go, and it's to take that number from whatever it is now, and it doesn't matter where it is now, to wherever we want it to be and when we want it to be there. And that's the idea behind what we're trying to do.